Partnerships and relationships are hardest
to do. Oh, you can see that line.
Just before I start, I'd like to acknowledge the traditional owners of the land on which we're meeting here tonight, and also just to recognise that Indigenous enterprises are often inherently social enterprises, and I think that we have a lot to learn from how Indigenous people have run their communities from time immemorial. So tonight I'll be talking about Flashpoint Labs and how we integrate art design and social enterprise. Myself, as I was introduced, I work full-time at the National Centre of Indigenous Excellence. I'm the online engagement coordinator there. I'm also the co-founder of Flashpoint Labs, and I have a blog about social innovation where I talk about, or try to learn about, a lot of the things that Grant was talking about. I'm also a student at the School for Social Entrepreneurs. This is Leanne Townsend. She's my co-founder, and she's also the CEO of the New South Wales Reconciliation Council and a board member for Heaps Decent. There's also a bunch of volunteers who help us at Flashpoint Labs. These are just some of the kind of volunteer guides by the sides, is what we call them. They're semi-professional photographers who come along and work with the young people in the workshops. We're a social enterprise aiming to empower young people to be creative learners, thinkers and professionals through change-making photography. So why have we started Flashpoint Labs? There's a lot of young people at the moment who are disengaged from education or employment and deal with social exclusion and have a low level of well-being. They may have a daily lived experience of disadvantage and racism, and a lot of times they can feel like they're voiceless or invisible, and we try to enable them to be able to speak out and to be seen in its worst manifestations. We often deal with youth suicide and self-harm, and it's very prevalent working in the Indigenous sector. The recent article is something like 10 times the rate of suicides at the moment in a lot of Indigenous communities. But there's also a really positive side to what's happening, another side of the story that doesn't get talked about that much, which is just the level of achievement and the success and resilience that young Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islanders and a lot of young people in inner cities are taking opportunities to get involved with programs like Flashpoint. So Flashpoint doesn't use deficit language in all our kind of public-facing stuff. I'm talking about it tonight because I want to say exactly what we're doing, but we don't talk about disadvantage at all. So we believe that creative expression, critical thinking, and the change maker mentality is really important for young people's well-being, and it's the best way for them to kind of take control of their lives and be well. This is also kind of part of the reason that we started Flashpoint Labs. It came to that intersection of Leanne and I's goals, the needs of the community, our passions, our sphere of influence, and what's known to work out there. So what do we actually do? So we run participatory photography workshops with young people, and we basically put cameras in the hands of them and invite them to tell their stories. They go around documenting and recording things that they're interested in, things that they are good and bad about their lives and their communities. And then we sit around and we look at the photos, and there's a lot of reflection and discussion about the reasons for taking photos and what they mean to them. And that's where a lot of the learning happens. It's really where the magic happens. So yeah, we basically try to create a safe and innovative space for young people. We try to enable them to have their own kind of learning experiences. We provide the resources, so the cameras and things like that, and some structure, but just try and act as catalysts for them to learn themselves and from each other. We also try to incorporate the other stakeholders and the teachers that are around, or the youth workers who are there. We're often working in partnership with other organisations. After the workshops, what we really want to be doing is creating connections for them for further education and into getting work experience. We want to get into more kind of individual one-on-one working as well, and kind of pathway plans for individuals for how they can go on to further education and get into photography or the creative industries. These are the many influences that influence us at Flashpoint Labs. Undeniably, our photo voice and their work with participatory photography over the last 10 years has been incredible and such an inspiration. They have put out a manual which basically explains exactly how their process works and how you can start your own participatory photography project, and that's been instrumental in us developing. I mean, the thing that we're doing that's a little bit different is we're taking it further and we're turning it into a sustainable social enterprise. So we didn't want to just run a one-off project which engaged people and got them involved in changing their community in a kind of once-off sense. But we wanted to create an enterprise which was ongoing and continually there to support young people. Mention the Young Foundation and their book or their research on grit as well, because it's their work on the seed skills or the social and emotional learning, emotional resilience, enterprising innovation and creativity and self-discipline is really part of how we design the courses and the work that we do as well, the workshops. I mentioned IDEO as well because they're the reason we came up with that idea of guides by the sides, which are bringing in volunteer photographers to work one-on-one with the guys in the workshops. Visual thinking strategies is another strategy that we use when we're reviewing the images. It's just some prompting questions and things like that, which start to help the young people think about how to read and interpret images. This is a business model canvas. So this is a little bit more about how we're a social enterprise and why that's different to just being an NGO that runs participatory photography programs and wants to keep doing that. So we don't want to be reliant on grants ever. We want to actually earn all the money, all our revenue, so that we can, it's totally up to us whether we can run programs and how many programs we can run. So the idea is that we'll be generating revenue by creating a photography agency alongside of the kind of our more core work, I guess, which is running the programs with young people. The photography agency will at first probably represent those volunteer guides by the sides who come into the workshops and work with the young people. Leanne, and then hopefully some of the participants will get to the level where they can be involved either as assistants and then as actual photographers that we can represent. Leanne and I, working in the Indigenous sector, have a lot of connections to organisations with reconciliation action plans, and these are some of the biggest top 300 organisations in Australia, and they're all really keen to figure out ways of supporting Indigenous Australia and making them meet their needs through their reconciliation action plans. And they all have a lot of photography needs, and it would be great if they used us and we could support, and they could support our program. So that's one of the ideas of how we're going to make it a sustainable enterprise and be able to continue to grow it and run more and more programs with young people. So we're growing and we've got a lot of programs coming up, so we're always looking for people who want to be involved, anyone who's got experience in photography or working with young people and is keen to be involved. We'd love you to get in contact with us, or designers or organisers. It'd be fantastic. And if anyone's got any old cameras lying around, and that's basically it.